Now, here on TalkTV, we love giving everyone a say, even if we disagree with them. One of those is Dale Vince, donor to the Labour Party and, until recently, Just Stop Oil. Only he now says he thinks their continued disruption is pointless and that we won't be giving them any more cash. I am delighted to say that Dale joins me now. What's the matter, Dale? Was disrupting Les Mis the final straw for you?
Well, actually, if you notice, Kevin, we announced it before that happened. We announced last Friday. It'd been something I'd been thinking about for a few weeks. And the reason really is that the Conservative government have made it clear that no amount of protesting will stop them from drilling in the North Sea. And in fact, they're doubling down, issuing hundreds of licenses instead of 5. And so my rationale is that we could protest against this government for another 20 years. We won't stop oil, but there's an election coming in maybe 12 months' time, maybe less, and we can stop oil at the election, at the ballot box.
Yeah, that was my reaction to when they invaded the stage last week in the West End, Les Miserables. You know, they've been doing this now, I mean, in various guises. Just Stop Oil, before that, Insulate Britain, before that, Extinction Rebellion. So all of these protests, we know all about them, sticking your hands to the roads, blocking bridges, and, of course, Just Stop Oil's various imaginative demonstrations, you know, invading sports events and now the stage, etc. Now, they've been doing this, you know, with monotonous regularity for a couple of years. Is it more? 3 years. And the net result is that 2 weeks ago, the Prime Minister announced a dramatic U-turn on all his green initiatives. So in actual fact, the government is just not paying any attention to these demonstrations at all. They have not worked. I agree with you. There you go, Dale. We've reached that moment of harmony we never expected.
I didn't expect that.
No. But seriously, I mean, the demonstrations that don't work are pointless, aren't they?
I believe now that further demonstration of disruption on this issue would not just be pointless, it would be counterproductive. I think the government will use this as part of their new culture war narrative. And as you say yourself, Rishi Sunak has announced basically a U-turn on green policies. He's going to make this an issue of the election, a dividing line between him and Labour, clear green water, if you like, between the two parties. And I think more disruption now will just feed that narrative, which is why I'm stepping away and saying what we actually have to do is to focus on the election. And there's a whole group of people in our country, 18 to 24-year-old, that they're going to find it really hard to vote in this election because basically the Conservatives have created some new laws to put obstacles in their path. So our new campaign, Just Vote 24, is going to focus firstly on the age group to help them understand that actually they have a real voice in this election, which is being suppressed, and show them how to register and how to vote.
Now, I seem to remember at some point last week trying to get hold of you to see if you'd come on my show to discuss your reaction to the storming of the stage of Les Miserables in the West End. And I believe you were busy. But was that the point when you thought enough is enough? This stuff isn't working. All that's happening here is that people who paid 175 quid for a nice night at the theatre are having their enjoyment spoiled. Nothing is being achieved. Was it the West End demonstration that made you think it's time to stop funding Just Stop Oil?
Yeah, I couldn't join you on that question last week. I would have liked to. But look, you asked me this at the beginning of our chat just now, and I said no, because we'd made the announcement before that protest took place and had been thinking about it for a few weeks. It just came after the event, and honestly, I think it reinforced my feeling that there wasn't any point in it. You know, and I've said, you know, already I've said why I think that, why I think it's not just pointless, but it's counterproductive. And we really need to focus on the next election because the only way we can stop oil is at the ballot box.
Now, you're up there at the Labour conference. You're awaiting Keir Starmer's speech this afternoon, 2 o'clock, I think. We're all on the edge of our seats about that. I mean, what do you feel? What do you feel about Keir Starmer? I mean, you know, he's running on a ticket of what is it, a greener, fairer future. He wants to give Britain its hope and optimism back. I mean, is he the man as far as you're concerned? Is he a good person to be the next Prime Minister? Will he achieve all of your green dreams, Dale?
There's a lot of questions in that one. I think Greener, Fairer Future was last year's slogan. This one is getting our country back, or the future of our country back. Look, I believe that Keir Starmer is the right man to lead our country. I think Labour Party are the right party to be in government. They absolutely get the green agenda. And I just want to say this, that the thing that concerns most people in our country is the cost of living crisis. It's caused by fossil fuels and our utter dependence upon them. And the way we solve that is by bringing in the green economy, moving to 100% green energy, and at the same time fighting the climate crisis. It's the answer to all of the problems that we face. Labour gets that. And so, yeah, I believe absolutely we need a Labour win at the next election, and we can change the direction of our country.
How can he carry the people with him when what you're proposing in terms of his green future, it's not a greener, fairer future, he's abandoned that one, has he? So there's no longer a fair future, no longer a green future. Yeah, it's difficult to keep up with old Mr. Flip-Flop, isn't it? But will he take, Dale, to be serious, will he take the people with him? Because greener futures involve more money. You know, we have to spend more on levies, on our energy bills. We're told not to drive petrol cars. We're told to be careful about our holidays in Spain, all to save the planet. These are not inherently popular things to propose to people. Can he take the people with him?
Yeah, because this is a false narrative. We're hearing it from Rishi Sunak in the last couple of weeks that, you know, we can't afford to make the green transition to green energy, for example, when the truth is we can't afford more fossil fuels. We're just spending, as a country, $4 billion on Rosebank, and we're giving that $4 billion to a Norwegian energy company. All of the profits from that site will go to Norwegian people, not the British people. We'll create 450 jobs for this £4 billion. It's a terrible thing to do. The oil won't even land here. It's going straight to international markets. With the same sum of money spent on green energy, we'd create about 30,000 jobs. And the energy is cheaper than fossil fuels. So it kind of frustrates me a little bit. The message is false to the British people that we can't afford green energy. It's the only kind of energy we can afford. We can get our energy bills on the floor and keep them there if we power ourselves completely with renewable energy. And with the electric car thing, again, it was a false presentation saying he was helping hard-working people.
We can't power ourselves exclusively with green energy. We're always going to need some carbon. We're going to need gas. We're going to need oil. Even our target, the carbon net zero by 2050, it isn't to get rid of all oil and all fossil fuels. That is factored in. So this total green future is just a fantasy and a myth.
Understood. I hear what you're saying. But look, do you know more about our national grid than the National Grid Company? Because they say we can power ourselves 100% by green energy, and they run the grid.
Well, they don't run the grid very well, if I may say. What happens when there's no wind and there's no sun? What happens when there's no wind and there's no sun? How do we power ourselves from windmills and solar panels?
Do you think that they haven't thought of that?
Well, yes, I do.
It's their job to keep the lights on.
Well, they haven't thought of it so far.
That's crazy. They have. They absolutely have. At the moment, they're balancing nearly 50% green energy on the electricity grid, and they're making that work. We've got all kinds of technology coming. We've got the smart grid where we manage demand at different times of the day using smart meters as well. And this is what they've this is the vision of the future that they have. It's their job to run the grid and keep the lights on. They say they can do it 100% on green energy. So with respect, I think they know more about it than, well, you or I, actually.
Yep. Well, that's as maybe, but when you say, oh, let's leave it to those great guys at the grid, I don't think most people will be inspired with confidence over that. I mean, so far, the way it's looking is not too great. I mean, we're not even being guaranteed full power through the winter. We're being told you might get power cuts. That's the way it is now. That is due to incoherent energy policies dating back decades in which we've systematically replaced reliable power sources with unreliable power sources. That's where we're at now.
That's untrue. That's untrue.
Why is it untrue, Dale?
Power cuts came. I'm going to tell you. The warnings of power cuts came last winter when our government refused to give energy efficiency advice to recommend that people use less energy in that crisis winter we had when Russian gas was turned off to Europe. In Europe, they cut their gas consumption by 20% and they had no problems. In the UK, our government said, oh, we're not the nanny state. People can use as much energy as they want, but we might have power cuts, the National Grid said. So that was a failure of government, actually. And when we build renewable energy and replace fossil fuels on the grid, we don't shut those fossil fuel projects down. We reduce their output and the amount of time they're used. And once we've built the 100% green grid, we'll still have the fossil plants if we ever need to use them. We can use them as backup if we need to. So all of this stuff is entirely possible. Honestly, I think that You don't understand it enough, but I'm here to try and help you do that.
Well, thank you very much, Dale. Good to have you on board to educate
my pleasure.
me. But seriously, let's come to the normal point we always come to here, which is the Chinese elephant in the room. All of what you're talking about. Let's give you the benefit of the doubt for a second to just say that all of your green dream comes true. We already only produce less than 1% of the world's carbon emissions, 1% of world pollution. China produces 28%. The vast majority of the world's pollution. It has 1,100 coal-fueled power stations. It's busy building 300 more. It is prospecting for more coal seams. What is the point of anything we do when nothing we do will make any difference to the global picture? Meanwhile, China, and for that matter, Russia, for that matter, Brazil, India, even America and Australia, belting out loads and loads of carbon emissions. Why are we just virtue signalling when everything we do will make no real difference?
Well, that's an interesting narrative. I've heard it before, of course, the China question. I think two things. One is I'm going to give you some facts about China, but the first thing I want to say is it's kind of it's morally wrong to say we're too small to matter, therefore we let the rest of the world get on with it. We do have a role in world affairs, and the example that we set counts for something. We can't argue that the world needs to decarbonise if we're not doing it ourselves. So there's a moral issue there first. Secondly, if you understand China and what they're doing to build renewables, you'll see that they're ahead of Britain. They're world leaders in renewable energy. They have built more solar panels
also world
than the rest
leaders
of the
in
world,
carbon
than the
emissions
rest of the
by a
world.
mile.
You've said that. You've said that. So let me tell you this: more solar panels than the rest of the world put together.
Yeah, great.
Right? 98% of buses on the roads of China are electric already. I mean, they're doing incredible things.
Yeah,
they're world
no,
leaders.
they're not, Dale. They are spewing loads and loads of smoke into the environment. Dale, you and I are never going to agree in a month of Sundays, but it's great to talk to you.
Let me tell you some facts.
No, later on. Another time, mate. Great to talk to you.
Right.
Dale Vince there, up there at the Liverpool conference. What do you think about what he says? Give us a call, 03444 991 1000.